See at the top, the red. So we love you. We thank everyone for coming. And so we just want to start out with a prayer. And when we get to a prayer, we just like think about memory lane. And some of us youngsters, we wasn't here. A lot of us born in the nation. So I thought I'd pray first. You're always supposed to thank God. And He's always ever present. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. So, and we're going to bring Brother Lester up to explain how he did this with the help. Now, I won't go in this half. But the point is, everybody was telling our story. Now, it's not. But never had an opportunity to tell the story. And a lot of history is all have it here. We got grandsons from the Al-Hajj Muhammad here. So I'm born in the Nation of Islam. Sister Patricia, the pioneer in time. Sister, I think your name Bahia. And Fatima, doctor, went to the University of Islam. So it's all history here. And you're supposed to come out. Remind us how much work that we have been done by our pioneers and how much work that us, the new generation pioneers, got to continue the course. So let us, I'm bringing up Brother Leslie, he's on the camera. So that's my part. Thank you, alhamdulillah. Thank you everybody for coming.
Stand behind the table, open that door. See
okay. I'm just going to speak briefly because really this exhibit that we have here today is something very similar to what we did in Atlantic City, New Jersey, Mosque number 10. And really, it's had so much meaning. It's the sisters that really put this exhibit together. In Atlantic City was Dr. Reginald Goddard, Sister Gawanda Abdullah, and the brother by the name of Ralph Hunter. This was in Jersey. And it went so well that once the exhibit went up in this gallery, it's called the African American Heritage Museum in Atlantic City, New Jersey, the Atlantic City Public Library, their people came in one day and they saw the exhibit and they said they wanted it at the library. In fact, they said not the library, we want it at the Historical Boardwalk Museum on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. And it just so happened that during that same time, the city council had sold that building or that site on the boardwalk where they would held all of the historical pieces for Atlantic City, New Jersey. So they said, okay, we're going to bring this exhibit right into the public library. And they had held it there for 3 months. And they just ran programs around that exhibit dealing simply with the Muslim community in South Jersey and our national community. And what's unique about that exhibit down there is we had a lot of time Muhammad Ali would come in town. He would spend time with us. He would spend time in the temple, time on the streets in Atlantic City, the fights and all that stuff. So we had a lot of history. And we had a brother in Atlantic City by the name of Minister Woodrow Love, who recorded a lot of the history of the community, probably from the very beginning, when he came in, all the way up until maybe the late 60s or maybe even early 70s. In fact, I would visit him from time to time. But right now today, this exhibit is really about 3 other sisters that really helped put this together. One is Sister Angie Ali. You'll see a lot of the stuff that's framed, all of these books. Sister Angie Ali did most of this work. And these 2 sisters here, Dr. Fatima Muhammad and Dr. Lynn Muhammad. So what we want to do here is hopefully to duplicate something similar to what we did in Atlantic City, whereas we take this exhibit here, and then we began to have others say, okay, we want that exhibit in our location. Or start bringing the school children in, bringing classes in, the different MSAs from around the area, and others to see our history. But most importantly is that we're going to tell our history. We're going to tell our truth. We're going to tell our story. And that's really what we're trying to do here today. And what we have here today is mainly a whole lot of the community. And that's what my focus was on, really trying to bring community. What we were doing in the community, the businesses, the family life, and building model communities. All of the stuff that we did in the past, we was trying to bring about. So I'm not going to talk anymore because I really enjoy listening to Dr. Lynn Muhammad and Dr. Fatima Muhammad. So I'm going to bring Dr. Fatima Muhammad, and she's already done some great things. When you look at evolution of the community, the documentary, this is what this sister did. Dr. Lynn Muhammad has already written books, and hopefully we'll get to that second book about the history of the community. So they're working in the field. This is hopefully, what I'm doing here is just helping them. My real focus and my real passion is economics. But we have to tell this story, and then hopefully we can get back to actually building model Islamic communities and rebuilding our brand. That's what we want. Thank you, Dr. Lynn Muhammad. Dr. Fatima Muhammad.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Brother Lester, for bringing me into this officially. This gallery exhibit idea. It means so much because it's making our story official. We're not worried about somebody else telling our story for us. We are our own voices, and so I'm so glad to be able to be a part of it. And like he mentioned, I did make, in 1995, I made the documentary Evolution of a Community, where I got to interview Imam Muhammad and began piecing together some of the, at that point it had been 20 years since the passing of Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I got to retrace some of those steps. I just did it in 5-year parts, 1975 to 1980, 1980 to 85, and so on. Just talking about, well, retracing what Imam Muhammad was doing for Black Muslims or African American Muslims. We were here and we were claiming ours. And that's the point, to claim something and build. We're not trying to copy anybody else or be another version of somebody else or some other community. This is us in a real idea of it. And so I'm so excited that we were also we've been able to put together and build on and work with others who have seen this as an important mission also. Remember that used to be called us, American Muslim Mission. Anyway, I enjoy retracing all of that. I guess that's the documentary maker. And that's all I want to say. Sister Lynn is gonna, or Dr. Lynn Muhammad is gonna come up and give you a more, use the right words for how to explain what this is and what this transition from the Nation of Islam to Al-Islam really means for us as a gallery exhibit and the idea that this is going to be the new model of how we talk about us.
That appendix down.
Not going to be some other version or sent off as part of some terrorist group or not. That's not us. That's never been us.
Right.
So we're just keeping the story straight, letting the record reflect the real ideas and the real lives that have been impacted in how we've changed the United States. And we are a beacon in the world, for real. Our community is demonstrating what the whole Black experience has been about and what Al-Islam did to add to that and make that meaningful so that we can be meaning makers. All right, that's all.
Thank you.
I want to welcome all of you all. I'm going to give you a little bit of history on the location where we are and then go immediately into the unveiling of the pieces that we have. This location that we're in right now is actually my husband's business. It's called Clara Photos. And when Nafisa and I first got together and we were talking about our experience in this community, we both had a desire to give back. We grew up in this community, we both had a desire to give back. And one of the things that Nafis constantly said that he wanted to do was to tell the story of the community as we lived it. Not still shots, not candid, not shots that you would post shots. He wanted to tell the story from the perspective of the people that were doing the work, that were engaged in the work, and not necessarily those who were just posing for the pictures. So he spoke about having a place where youth could come and learn from us and experience what we had experienced. So we were talking about a business piece which included maybe a way for people to sit down and eat a little bit and just socialize, but while that was happening, there would be things around them that would allow them to learn. So create an environment that allowed them to learn. So we toyed around with the idea a little bit, and eventually he said, oh, I want to take pictures and capture the history. So we were taking these pictures, and then we were like, okay, we can do more with that. We went to the Smithsonian Museum, African American History Museum. They came to our community. They received artifacts from us. It was great. Everybody was feeling very positive about it. I know I was. I know a lot of people that contributed to the event, their artifacts to the event that was put together, eventually put together. It was great. We went there. We were about that much of what they had. And what they showed was from us from the 70s. It was us mixed in with the efforts of Hampton and the individuals who were responsible for the Black Panther Party and a lot of the things that we were doing in the militant 70s. And it showed a very militant us. And I was like, okay, that was a piece of us, but that's not who we really were. And I'm still looking in the rest of the museum for us as a group, and I didn't see it. So after we went through all the different, it's based on a timeline, so after we went through all the different time periods, and we got to the end, there was this big, huge screen, and they had pictures and pictures and pictures, and the pictures included pictures of us, but there were no captions, there was no explanation, it was just the pictures. And I was like, okay, if you know the history, that's powerful, but if you don't know the history, you're like, what's going on? So I saw that as a contribution, but not a great contribution. And I went to the DeSable Museum, Hyde Park, Chicago, not too far from where I went to school for most of my school experience. I'm thinking DeSable Museum is part of African American history, maybe. Let's go see. Took my students this past summer. The only part of African American history in that museum that reflected us was in the bookstore, and it was a picture of El-Hajj Malik Shabazz and Muhammad Ali shaking hands. No explanation, just a picture being sold in the bookstore. That's it. And we covered pretty much the museum. Now I know at one point we had a piece on our history, but it was not a standard piece that they kept in there. So it was a Juma Friday when we were on this field trip, and I happened to go to Juma at the Mosque Cares, and I ran into Brother Lester, and I was hot because I'm like, when is our history going to be told correctly? And he told me about this. He told me about what had been done in Atlantic City that he explained at the beginning. And he brought up the suggestion because he knew that we had the space, and my husband had already been talking about showcasing our community. He was talking about doing it in different formats. And so, alhamdulillah, Allah brought all of us together at the right place at the right time so that we could be able to do this. And so that's the history of how we wound up doing this. So in line with what Brother Lester mentioned about what they did in Atlantic City with the libraries picking it up, our plan, inshallah, is to actually invite representatives from the city's Office of Planning, the Chicago Public Libraries, the Chicago Public Schools. We're going to try to see if we can get some representatives from different local universities and colleges. We're going to have a reception for them, inshallah, in November. We're going to run this exhibit as a full open exhibit from the first week of October through the last week of November on the weekends, and we're going to leave it available for school days for people to schedule school trips during the school day. So inshallah, we're going to reach out to some of the local schools in African American communities and beyond, and we're going to try to see if we can get the schools to bring their students by for field trips during the school day. And so inshallah, we'll have it where it'll be available for others to see, but we really want to get it out up here. We want it to be in other locations, inshallah, in the Chicagoland area. The purpose of today and tomorrow is for us to add to it. Sister Patricia's already mentioned she's got 4 pictures she wants to add. The purpose of this is for us to add. As Brother Lester said, Atlantic City actually helped to start this piece, this wonderful work, by pulling together their artifacts. Minister Woodrow and others, Woodrow Love and others, they contributed, alhamdulillah, for what they've done, and there's a lot of that here. The Muslim Journal has already said that they're willing to donate, not give us permanently, but loan to us some of the volumes that they found that has a wealth of history. A huge part of what you're about to see came from our publication, a huge part of this, and I can't overemphasize the importance of us maintaining that structure, because that has helped to document and tell our story. So a lot of it has come from that, and they're going to donate some, lend us some pieces. So we have things that are coming in, but we need the narratives to go with them so that we can make sure that as these pictures are being displayed, that the right explanations are available for people to see. So we don't be guilty of what the Smithsonian has done and just putting them out there. We want our voices, inshallah, to be there. So you're here today, and we pray Allah that you give us them information that we can add, and then you have tomorrow where you can maybe get others to come out tomorrow and to do the same thing so we can get the word out even more. Our themes, and then I'll start unveiling them. Fatima, can you help me by taking off the fabric as I get to section? Okay.
Hold on, sorry.
Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about each theme. And as I talk about each theme, we'll show you the pictures. You can just pretty much stay in your seats where you are right now. But we're going to talk about each theme area. And then when we're done, inshallah, you can go and visit each theme and you'll be able to see close-ups. And again, we really want, Sister Fatima's here, and she can help record some of what you say. You ready? Can you do that with, no?
The sad part is, I have to charge my phone.
Okay. Okay, so we have my husband here who has a camera that's running, and we have your camera here that's running. So we're able to record you. So if you see something and you want to share, you were there, you want to share your experience with us, we're welcoming it. You know something else related to the event that's being portrayed in that picture, let us know so we can have your voice to go along with, and we're going to type up little narratives to go on the side of each picture. You'll see some index cards right now, but we're going to actually officially type up little captions to go with each picture, so we want your voice to be a part of that. So Fatima's going to help me unveil. So I'm going to start on this wall, so if you all want to just turn your bodies a little bit. We're going to start over there where it says community life. I'm going to turn the lights down a little bit. I'm going to leave this one on. We just had these lights put in, so excuse me while I try to figure out what's this what's what. Okay, so this wall, when we look at the textbooks and when we look at different ways that people have portrayed our history, they talk about us being militant and anti-society and separating ourselves from whatever, but they don't talk about the structure of our community and how we establish that strong community life. Now, people who grew up around us, oh yeah, I know the Muslims, they checked you if you did something wrong. They were the extra mother or father in the community. Oh yes, they had the ability to, their children were together and they helped us keep our children together, so they know about what we did as a culture, and then their entertainment was clean and we didn't mind letting our children go, and so they know about what we did as a culture, but at the same time, the public does not portray that. The media doesn't portray it. The textbooks don't portray it. So for that reason, we thought it was important to put that as part of what we've done. So we have images over here. She's going to start taking. She's going to start taking them down. I'm not going to talk about every single picture, but we have images over here that represent our pioneers, taking care of our pioneers, making sure that they are taken care of, making sure that we have the cultural piece, that we have something for us to do throughout our lives, making sure that we take care of our youth. If we have a community issue, that we have a way of addressing whatever those community issues are. So these are the things that these pictures help us to. These are the things that these pictures help us to portray. So the booklets that are here provide even more. So you've got the books here, you've got the pictures that are up on the wall. We had parades that highlighted our patriotism here in the United States of America. We had different things that we did to enhance every aspect of nurturing the community to make sure that the community was there to be able to thrive. And a lot of this deals with just what we did with our elderly, and that says a lot. You take care of your youth, you take care of your elders, that says a lot about the community. So many of these pictures help to portray that. From here, we're going to step over to the wall of education. You cannot, I'll just start putting down here. You cannot have a sustainable community if you don't do something to make sure that your next generation is prepared. We did not leave our our community at large as we transitioned, and the educational system started with something very basic, which started out in our homes and the homes of the believers, and then from there it progressed to be even more. And there's a story of Elijah Muhammad where he said to his wife, Sister Clara, at that time he had been incarcerated by the government, and many of the men had been incarcerated, and he sent a message to his wife to make sure that the children were being educated. And he the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told his wife, Sister Clara, what he wanted to happen. He told them to ask Sheikh Shabazz, or at that time he was just Minister Shabazz, to come and educate the children. And he eventually became known as Sheikh Shabazz, and he made sure, even when he wasn't physically able to be there, that the best education was made available for us. And Sheikh Shabazz, who did not have like degrees and all of that, he was able to provide an education, and that's another issue that will come up in a different, inshallah, in the book or at a different time, but he was able to provide a quality education. But Sister Clara went so far to not only follow her husband's instructions, but she also met a truant officer and said, I'll be as dead as this door frame before I let you take my children and educate them. And she took it upon herself, as well as many of the other pioneers, and most of them were sisters to start off with, or elderly gentlemen, elderly brothers. They took it upon themselves to make sure that the children had the best education. So if you're going to go through that commitment to make sure that the children are educated, then you want to make sure that that school is the best possible school program that exists. And they worked on it until they got it to the point that they were never satisfied. They kept improving it, kept improving it. But to this day, we still have schools in existence, and inshallah, we'll continue to have them going and continue to grow. So this is just a snippet of the history of our educational system. Education is important, but so is business. You can't do anything if you don't have economic development. And when they talk about our community, they don't push this. This was not at the Smithsonian. It was not at DuSable Museum. You cannot have any type of a structure if you don't have the education, have the preparation of your economic base. You cannot. So with that being said, you leave it like that. We had an economic base. We had entities that not only employed people, provided goods and services for us to get, but also prepared people, trained people to be able to work in those institutions. We had, it wasn't like an official training program or vocational this, vocational that, but there was a way. If you didn't have a skill, if you had an interest, and you showed up to work every day, somebody was there to prepare you to be able to do that. I worked in a couple of these businesses, and I wasn't trained to do that, but the people who were working with me provided me with that background that I needed to be able to function in that community. And we didn't have to go out to get hardly anything. Pretty much everything we needed was provided for us by that particular community. We have a businessman right here who was in business when I was a child. His daughter went to school with my sister, and they're still friends to this day. And he has been in business, and he has a product that was actually developed by our community. He brought a sample with him today. Most of you all are already familiar with the name. I am Brother Charles. But he brought a sample of it with us today to remind us of that. And at the same time, it's a revelation of the timeless effort that he has put in, and many other business people like that. But he had his roots, his started within our community way back at the time that we were making those strong strides into the community with economic development. Did you learn how to bake before? Because I know you worked at the bakery. Where did you learn how to bake?
In Washington, D.C., Shabazz Bakery.
So he learned how to bake in our community.
I started as a janitor.
As a janitor. And eventually, and then he learned how to bake, and now that's his life. And that's how he helped to raise his children, was as a baker. Because something he learned within our community. Now I'm going to digress for a minute before I talk about the last two pieces. I was going to school in our community, told we need to have people that contribute back to the community, blah, blah, blah. So my mind was already designed to say, I'm going to give back. So my thing, what I heard was critical at that time, was that we needed medical care. So I'm going to school to be a doctor. Okay, no big deal. I'm just going to go, do my thing, help the community out. Imam Warthadi Muhammad approached me and said, I want you to apply for this scholarship. And this was at the time that he had first come into office, and he was providing scholarships for people to go overseas. So he said, I want you to come for this interview. So I did. And I go to the interview, and he said, we want you to go to Al-Azhar and to get a degree in Islamic studies. And it's fully paid for, but it was great. It sounded really super great. I said, Brother Imam, I want to study medicine. Well, they don't have a medical program in Al-Azhar. It's just for Islamic studies. I said, I turned down the scholarship to take up another field, because I'm thinking, how am I going to use that to help? Because my mind was thinking science and medicine and all of this, and so I said no. Because I wanted to get something that was going to allow me to fill a niche, a hole that was full. And yes, we needed Islamic studies at that time. We had a need for that. But we also had a need for the science piece. So I told him no. And to this day, I haven't regretted it. I've had to pay a little bit for my own schooling, but Allah blessed me with some more money, so I didn't have to pay for all of it. So alhamdulillah. So I still, losing that scholarship did not stop me from getting educated, and I did not graduate in debt, alhamdulillah. So it was a decision that I needed to make at that particular time. But while I'm in the process of getting this education for becoming a doctor, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to get back to the community. I went to the Clara Muhammad School, and I said, what do you need? They said, we need a science curriculum. This is Brother Clara and me. I said, okay, no problem. So I wrote science curriculum. I was like, what the heck is a curriculum number one? And what do you need a curriculum? What does it mean? Because I went to school to be a doctor, not to be an education doctor, but to be a medical doctor. So I'm working with this. My sister's in education. Hey, Grandpa, guess what? I got to do a curriculum. What do I do? So she's like, you do this, you do that. So she was my first teacher in the field of education. So we wrote it. So I went back to Clara. Here it is, curriculum from grades K through 9. He said, now I need you to teach. What? Teach? How? What? How does that work? So he threw me into a classroom. And she was my principal. This person right here sitting in front of me was my principal. I'm sorry to point, so I apologize for pointing. I'm trying to point so it's not so obvious that I'm pointing. But she was my principal. I knew nothing about education. I was doing medical science. He didn't know anything about baking. He was doing janitorial work. I was taught I learned how to be a teacher by being in the classroom. And eventually I went back to school and I got my degree in education. And they said, but you already know this stuff. How did I know it? Because I learned it in our community. Because there were people who nurtured us and gave us what we needed so that we could learn those professions. So we had a system for preparing people. And when I went to college and got my degrees, they were like, who taught you? Like, where did you get this from? We got it from people who had a heart of gold, some experience, some education experience maybe, and some experience maybe, but they had a heart of gold that gave us the ability to learn more than what they were teaching in those universities. And eventually I was asked to teach at the university where I was getting my teaching degree, because he said you have something to offer that most of our students don't. And they asked me to be a teacher even though I wasn't finished with school yet, because I brought something to the table, and I brought to the table what I learned in this community. And I'm just putting it out there. So this educational, this job preparedness that we got is nothing to shake a stick at. It's nothing that comes even, that is so much better than what they're providing for people out there in the world. My father wound up being manager of transportation. My dad barely got out of high school. My dad did not have a college degree when he started with this community. My dad was taught here in our community, and that's how he learned what he learned, and then he went out and did it and helped other people do it. So the community has given us so much. I mentioned the business piece, and the examples with Charles is here. We've got other examples of businesses that existed in our community, and there's that one that I started the whole piece off with, and that's our paper, our publication. If you're not documenting what you're doing, and that's part of why we're doing this history piece, if you're not documenting what you're doing, how's the world going to know? Once you're done and you transition on, if there's no record, how is the world going to know? One way that we are documenting is to have our paper. And the paper's been through different changes, different stages, and at certain points, there's, there have been financial stripes that it's gone through, and it's been struggling, and Sister Aisha mentioned contributing a little bit as much as she could, and then she and Latifah switch places. So now Latifah's hanging on the outside with her feet dangling in the water and sharks circling her, and Aisha's in the boat. And I'm being very, dramatic with this, but this is how Aisha told the story of how they had to do what they had to do to keep the paper from going completely under. This should never be. This is our lifeline that's helping to keep all these pieces together. So, and I'm saying that to say we need to support it. Leadership. This is nowhere near as developed as it needs to be. We know it, we've lived it. This is nowhere near as developed as it needs to be. We should have a lot more here. I mean, this is where we need. So, and it's not about the individuals who were our leaders. It's about the messages that they conveyed. It's about the things that they gave us. So, and then we have current people, because this is not just about the first, it's not just about Imam's leadership, it's about the continuation of all of this. So we need to have examples of leaders. Now, there's a person who just came in just recently, and I take my hat off to him. He took over, he was voted in as the resident imam of masjid that was developed on the south side of Chicago. It's a freestanding building, mortgage is paid off. We have people that have been there and supporting the programs, and what I really admire about what they do is they don't just operate in that building. If I were to look at any place in the city of Chicago or nearby surrounding areas, I don't know if there's one place other than the Ethan Baha Center that has such a strong outreach to the community. They have much in the community. It is just unbelievable. And I'm not, trying to put this brother on a pedestal or anything, because he's just been helping to continue what the Baha Center helped to establish when it first started. It's named after one of those great pioneers that started the program here in this area, and they've been continuing to do, and we have such a strong respect from the community. Strong respect. And he's an example of one of our leaders. And his roots go back to this childhood. His childhood was within this community. So how he learned came from this community. His parents were some of the pillars that helped to establish the community as it is. So that legacy is continuing. And he's still into the leadership role, and alhamdulillah, he's doing great job. I'm not stroking him at all because I don't want his head to do this. But I've been around the brother enough to know that he's very balanced, inshallah. And so I'm saying that to say that this wall needs to have more. We need to have more up here from our leaders. And it's the messages, it's the work they're doing that we need to have up here. So I'm just saying that this is something we need to do. Again, this whole piece is about us right now giving our contribution. So when we unveil it to the rest of the world, it tells a true story. Now, we have one more part. Here, we made questions for them to have quizzes. The answers are in the back. And then we have this picture with many faces on it that represents the history of our community, local and nationally. And then on the back is a quiz. So do you know who these people are? And then on the inside are the answers. So you can, just in case you don't know who they are, here it is. So it's designed to be a textbook for the children. And we're working on a second one. I called for interviews. I called for bios and pictures for this past February and didn't get any. I'm telling you all right now. Your parents or you or
I got pictures.
okay, alhamdulillah. So we need to tell the story. So we can give you. I'll give you my business card, but you get it to us. It'll be in the next volume. So and we, alhamdulillah, the people are asking for this now. We're selling out, so we're ready for the next volume. So inshallah. Oh, this is going for 10. So these are going for $10 today special.
Y'all got square?
Say,
Y'all got square?
I don't have it up. I have, but it's not up. We'll talk. We'll talk. Because I'm probably on the behind somebody, so we can talk. We can talk. In the community, we can do that. Yes.
Two things, so we got the time. We want to get all of us say a few words, and also Amir to also speak, and that so we can be on film. So we love just a few minutes just to tell how you feel about it, because this helps us push our program even better for the people that are listening to, and all of us need to tell it. It's one way or the other. So we want to hear.
Looking at people who,
yeah, and so I'm trying to grab at people while we're filming,
right.
and Olive and the grandson Elijah Muhammad, the grandson Amir Muhammad, Sister Lottie. We need to talk about Sister Lottie. We can't leave her out, and Sister Clara Muhammad. So that's why I said we borrow them while we can, because everybody's busy. Everyone is busy, and some of the teachers that went to school and taught us, worked at the school, how they feel. So we put it on film for down the road when the future comes, is what I'm trying to do, and to capture that moment. I'm just trying to seize the moment, if you understand what I'm saying. So, Brother Olive Muhammad, please give us a few couple
Assalamu
words.
alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, dear family. And I mean that in every sense of the word. We are a family. I think Allah blessed us to come today to see what your effort is. And alhamdulillah, I'm very, my heart's full that the joy that we are as who grew up as youth, as babies in this community, have grown up with an appreciation of what Allah has blessed us with, what He's continued to bless us with. And one of the things we all know that Allah hates is ingratitude. We got to be, we are very grateful that Allah blessed us, what He's given us, and we got to show that gratitude by, making sure our history is preserved, make sure that it continues, and Sister Lynn, Brother Nafis, and Brother Lester, and all of you who have done so well, Sister Fatima, and everyone else who have done so much, that I am obligated to offer my help, my support, my family's support, because we're all a family. I'm blessed to be of the Muhammad family, and that Allah blessed me. It had nothing to my doing. I had nothing to do with how I came here. And Allah blessed me to be of that family. And I thank Allah for my family and all that they have done to elevate our awareness in Islam first, establishing Islam in America, and then continued development of Islam and growth of Islam in America. And we have to make sure that people don't think that Islam just came through Malcolm. Islam came here by someone else.
That's right.
You know, Islam was established by the Muhammad family, starting with Elijah Muhammad. You know, Farad Muhammad came and gave a message to a man, and he stayed and developed it and watered that plant and that seed and developed it. He did all the hard work. He ran for his life, you know, and worked his whole life to develop that. And that was put into his sons, his children, and all of those who helped. And you know, unfortunately, we are losing our pioneers. And Allah knows when He's going to take one of us. As we think we are young and we have more life to live, but we have a lot that we have to be grateful for and make sure it is preserved with those who leave behind. But I'm so grateful for our pioneers, and I want to make sure that if any time we're in Janazah, we got to let the family know we appreciate the efforts of that individual, of those individuals that work with our leadership, that helped our leaders to produce what they did. They didn't do it in the closet by themselves. The pioneers are the ones that helped our community. We have to make sure that we let the legacy of our leaders be known, sure, but our pioneers who work with them to help to develop that, those have to be preserved also. So, alhamdulillah, you all should know of the Community Center, who is a foundation that we have established back in 2006. We got as a foundation, we are still an active foundation. We're not doing as much as we should do, but I am going to talk with my board and my other individuals and stuff how we could come together as a collective to work together, because it's bigger than an organization, it's bigger than one person. We have to all come together and do an umbrella effort, push forward to make sure that this continues, that we all write books, that we all do documentaries, that we all do interviews, that we all do something to make sure that our history is preserved and it continues beyond us and beyond our families. So, alhamdulillah, I thank Allah for this day and this opportunity, and I thank Allah for all of you to being here, and may Allah bless us, get the word out to make sure that everybody else comes and enjoy and appreciate what has been done and what's being done. Assalamu alaikum.
Once you all decide how you all want to work it, definitely contact us.
Oh, no, that's got to take place first.
Amir, did you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am. If you all don't mind, I'll keep my spot right here. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm just going to say a few things, you know, and to reiterate some of what Brother Olive already mentioned. I mean, it's about the pioneers, it's about the unity. I mean, you know, you got to go back to the beginning of this. There was one beautifully concerned female that actually introduced the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to Farad Muhammad. That was my grandmother. Praise and peace, may Allah's prayers and peace be upon her always. And grandmother did some things seen and unseen that if she had not done them, this community would not exist today, period. And one thing was introducing Farad Muhammad, introducing her husband to Farad Muhammad. The next thing is, grandmother was extremely instrumental in standing up and making sure that there was a school for the children. The next thing, when her husband went to prison along with approximately 90 some odd brothers from just Chicago area, including my dad. And I'll tell a funny story. My dad was the last to go because he was a fair-skinned fella. You know, the FBI, he thought he was a free man. He thought he was They passed over me. Daddy was light-skinned, you know. He was walking with his suit. He was all, you know, he told a story, so I remember it clear as daylight. Daddy said I was walking down, I got me a bite of an apple and tapped me on the shoulder and said, William Fagans, because that was his slave name, as they said back then. William Fagans, he says, yes, he says, come with us. And he went right in there and enjoyed the rest of the prior years and went on in prison with us. But there were, again, 90 some odd other brothers that did the same thing. The FBI picked up all of them. That left the movement on the senior brothers and the sisters. Sister Clara took up the leadership unofficially while her husband was incarcerated, while her husband was on the run. if Sister Clara had not done that, we would not have a community today. I can go into so much more depth of what I've learned from listening to my father, my mother, my sister, and my uncles, and I give you one. Just recently, Brother John Ali, you all may remember him, he was the National Secretary. I asked Brother John Ali a question. I said, Brother John says, what role did my mother play in, I heard that she traveled with Brother Malcolm when she established the mosque. What role did my mother play? He said, brother, your mother was a pivotal role. He didn't use the exact words, but your mother's role was pivotal because who knew Malcolm X? He said Sister Lottie was known by everyone nationwide. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad sent Sister Lottie to introduce Brother Malcolm to the community so that he could do his work and so Sister Lottie could do her work. So they worked together until I was conceived and born, and then Mommy had to stop. She used to travel with Brother Malcolm to establish those mosques. She introduced Brother Malcolm, she spoke to the sisters, he spoke to the brothers, they moved to the next mosque. And just going to speak briefly about my dad, and all of you got a story to tell with Auntie and Uncle too when you get the chance to do it, because Uncle Jabba had a lot to do with that, with the baker. Okay, Uncle Jabba tell you a beautiful story about how he didn't start the bean pie, but he sure enough refined it and made it what it is today. So, my dad was the community's commercial artist. Every Savior's Day, he painted every one of those signs. He would spend painstaking hours in the basement, hours at a time. A board, I don't know how tall, I was a little guy, but the board seemed like it was from the floor to the ceiling, and there was Daddy painting them, and he'd roll them up on one end as they dried it, and he'd bundle them all up and take them to the Coliseum. That was the first place that we had. But Daddy did that. Daddy worked as a manager at the restaurant, the grocery store, and I'm telling this story because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put his family to work. Every one of the pioneers around him, they didn't rest. They worked together cohesively, all of the pioneers. There was nobody around sitting idle. They were all together in unity, and it was just such a beautiful thing to witness as a child. By the time I came along, man, we had school buses, it was together, Wasn't living in no more shacks, wasn't putting cardboard in shoes no more. We were doing okay. I didn't miss no meals. We had an apartment on 71st Street. Everything, we were doing okay. We had a Ford, but my uncle and aunts and grandfather and grandmother can tell you some serious stories of hardship as those pioneers could share with you. So I'm going to stop. But I just want to let you know there is an undercarriage story. And that story also has to be recognized as a surface story. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a brilliant genius of a man. And Allah blessed him with an insight beyond what Farrar gave him. And if you look at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's work, his work evolved over time. He had what Farrar gave him, but he evolved it. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the 50s, he brought us as close as he could with his education and understanding without being able to read in the Arabic. He brought in teachers to teach us how to pray, to establish Friday prayer. He did all of that. We got away from it, but I can remember as a child doing sajda in school. Minister James Shabazz taught us how to pray properly. We got away from it. So anyway, I'm going to stop there. But there's a beautiful story to be told if all of us are reaching inside of us, like the brother there. Brother Charles, you tipped the iceberg, brother. You ain't said it all. You can tell a whole lot more about that story that you got.
Yeah.
Praise be to Allah. And I'm glad to be here, and thank you all for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much.
So we want you all to be able to speak in the mic so that we can have the history from your perspective. If you want to do it one-on-one, you're welcome to. If you want to, walk around and look at the images and talk while you're watching, you're also welcome to do that. But we would love it if you all can help tell the story so that it's our story and not from someone else's perspective. Because as I'm going to end with this, as Amir was speaking, and he's talking about his mother's role. I never knew that about Sister Raya, that she, traveled with El-Hajj.
And she actually enjoyed.
Sister, finish up, play on, take a bath.
That's what those kids. She was that good at it. She was good. She was special.
Yeah, your brother was,
Yep, my baby. But she's not literally a baby, she's 17 and taller than me. But anyway.
What do you call it? College? Because her parents and I went to school together.
Sorry, Bertie, ma'am.
This is a little thing I always have to joke
You heard
about.
that.
You trying to age me.
Was it?
Oh, see, for sure, like, you all are over. So I'm 30. Yeah, I don't know why you're 18. 30.
Thank you.
Say that
You
again.
having a good time with that camera, aren't you, brother?
Oh, I just warming up. Seize the moment.
Alhamdulillah, how you doing? Excuse me, where's the wife?
Right there. Got your name on it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. It's so funny to see
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
remember, and then just this.
And then the only thing that makes me kind of remember this is that I remember that's my sister.
Wait, because she was Alima Mir.
Yep. And Amir and this is
I'm at
Sandra. That's a
10307 Hill.
And it's her Tariq.
At the fair.
I'm trying to.
Is he the Lima or Amir?
All right, I'm
It was
here.
an A. Oh, you know what? Now you're right.
Which
two together? These two. They were all
This is,
together.
that is,
10.
This is Simon's daughter.
it's Aaliyah. Not a mirror, it's not an M.
But it was something. It was
It's
like
like
a mixture.
It might have been Aaliyah.
Aaliyah
It might have been Aaliyah.
or Lima. One of them.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, but it wasn't a mirror. Now,
This
this was
now
some
this
mirror.
is, yeah, that's
That's
some
some
mirror.
mirror right there.
Now this is supposed to be this size.
Yeah, Ijlal.
Ijlal.
Ijlal's daughter.
Ijlal.
Yeah. And then I just saw her. That's not, is this Makbul's daughter?
Yep. Aisha Mahmoud. That's her name at least.
Her name is Aisha. Her mother's name is Judith.
Oh,
Or
okay.
Hafisa Mahmoud. But she has a younger sister named Salima. Salima I just saw, and not her.
Oh,
I just saw Salima.
It's easy for me to sit
Funny
down.
thing is, how much we actually do look like our siblings.
His nephew was in my summer camp, and I started putting the pictures up,
Oh, I can't.
and he looks so much like his uncle. At that picture, when I saw this picture, I saw that child. He's now 8, 9 years old, so Tariq was a lot older than that at this point, but I was like, oh,
That's the same
that's
one
the goal.
again.
This is so new. And Tariq was a handful, and this little young man is a handful.
Similar.
Yes, very similar. What's his name?
This one I can remember, and it's like almost the whole row I can always remember except for this. I can't remember whatever. Okay.
This one, his mother's name is Evelyn. And he's either Kareem or,
I just want to bring something up.
You know what he's talking about? One that offered the shit they were sure is so good to do some markers, credit to the road.
I remember that.
We refer to it. Now that's what got here.
Me and Kareem Sandy used to go down the hall just saying, we used to say it to each other like, what the heck is that man
And
talking about?
you know what all I was trying to do?
He doesn't speak good English.
I was trying to get you to understand that language is about agreement. In other words, that was English. That was what they agreed was English at that time. Now what we have is something different. And we have agreed, it's like this is one I say often, we agree, we say, what's up? Nobody looks up. Because we have agreed that that's all I was trying to get you to understand.
And you know what? The degradation of language is a troublesome thing.
but as he said, we agreed on that.
But the thing is, remember, is language is very fluid. So it's going to change just because it's new people.
I tell you what, I want to continue to try to emulate the speech of James Earl Jones. That is my I love the way he talks. And what's the other name? Avery Brooks. Those two brothers know how to speak the language.
Yeah, and help you really understand and feel something.
And here is James Earl Jones. He is from Arkansas. He's a country boy. You know, and he can speak the English language and make you ashamed that you speak out of turn.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he enunciates so well.
He and Avery Brooks do a good job. I mean, Avery Brooks used to be on that show, Vegas. Spencer for Hire.
Spencer for Hire, yep.
And even on that show, he was speaking and enunciating almost perfect.
Yeah, he stood out in more than ways than one. Because he was the black one who was extra smart sounding. He sounded like he was smart. And he was handling business.
And he had a big gun.
Oh, that's right.
Brother got to have his gun.
James Earl Jones doing Darth Vader's voice, that was just...
Oh, yeah.
I am your father. James Earl Jones.
Sister, Amina?
Amina.
She's right, that's what we can make
Man, that camera burned up a lot of video. Battery.
But the thing is, you don't
Something.
Good.
That's what that.
And that's I just appreciate it. We'll go in DC, you talk about the different schools, so somebody who wants to come on definitely in DC.
Oh, wow.
So we can why did you visit the and I was like, yeah, let me get out of here. What's the trash? Random places. What is trash?
Right there, baby.
And see that? It's really always everything's to use that one.
Right.
All of us. We gotta get you to.
Yeah, I'm not okay. I'm fine. Okay.
If you don't do it, I'm not eating your banana.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was it.
We can talk about that.
Still going down south?
No, I'm here. I've been here now for a few years.
You off that motorcycle?
I stayed down there 10 years, a little over 10 years. Actually, I only reason why my dad worked some more. You know, I had to take some early retirement.
You know, me and Sister Angie, we just freeing up all stuff up. That's what I was telling you, those newspapers and stuff I was telling you. I said, man, we just pulled a lot of this stuff. It's from the history of the newspaper. And that's what we would do. We just put some stuff in frames, some stuff we put into those books, those volumes. So inshallah, we have to sit down and talk because I really need to go through some of the stuff that you have, and then we'll start doing some stuff with it.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Right, and then I talked with them over at the Journal the other day. I was over there. But you see what we're trying to do here. Yeah, you see what it is. It's not, and it's all basically community-based type. You know what we're trying to do here. So hopefully we can get this exhibit in the. Trying to collect as much of that, but the Muslim Journal is going to probably be the source that probably will have a lot of that information in it. In fact, when Brother Sadruddin Ali, when he passed away, the brother Lieutenant Raymond, I remember, you know, he's right there at the door, man. When I was, and I make sure I keep all of their stuff, all of their when they did those obituaries and stuff, I keep them. I collect that. I do collect that personally myself now. All right. All right. Thank you.
He did say this. He said,
all right. Assalamu
Yeah, I mean, that's what marketing and networking is. Sharing.
Teacher in the building that does
Chicago history.
That's how the story was told. Twisted around.
Twisted around.
The station, the record can really reflect what happened.
So I tried to tell her about this, and I was like, yeah, she got no class, she got Hispanic class. I talked to her. We worked together, you know. His sister, I mean, his lady, that was the she got a class at the Catholic Church. I think it's that good day for them to come and see what it's like in this way.
That's all faith community. Remember that. And right here.
She said she might make an extra something. October 13th. What's that? October 13th. When is Veterans Day? You know, from your face. 13th.
No, Columbus is 12.
We could bring the mom on that day.
What's 10?
Because he's going to be there. No. He's going to be at our house. So we could bring him.
10, 7. That's a day.
Yeah, we could bring his mom. I want to bring his mom. I think he would enjoy it. We could volunteer that day. No, she has to work. I'm thinking about who's interested in history. The mom's interested in DC.
He just brought him
You
in.
think you may still have it?
Somebody else might have them out checking around, but that picture is standing around.
Okay. You may still have it like that. Just start looking because a lot of
Temple number 26.
So, and that's part, and that's what we want to capture, community.
Chicago.
The every day, because now it's good. Grandchildren, grandchildren. That's my
Yes, this is whatever.
What is your man, Muhammad marriage?
Yeah, whatever.
I didn't know that.
Okay, good. Black Toyota. That's us.
Oh, he's getting ready to show you. No, I just didn't hit him. Okay, blocked in, excuse me.
They gonna show the car.
Got it blocked in.
What about son?
Black Toyota.
No, he's joking about this. Oh.
You ready, baby? Well, Sister Joe, teacher at the school.
Okay.
They live in Indiana. They got 2 or 3 managers around there. I know Charles and Big and Odell. Used to be Odell.
Odell?
And Josh.
Yeah, Odell.
Josh watched Carl down the street.
Yeah, Taft.
Yeah.
Shamsuddin.
Rolling.
They were the drop. Rolling.
Going on in there, rolling. And their brother Curtis used to be minister. He was talking like Bob.
You have a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Why are you holding back? You ought to be on video. Why are you holding back?
He's on it now. He's
you videoing him? Oh, okay.
Come on, man.
Yeah, don't
That's the only way I can get it. I know him.
Right, exactly. I don't know.
Marshall was his oven man.
Because they work.
Felix, remember Felix? Light skinned brother. you know. That's why I said I thought you was there.
Oh, man. No,
Because they worked at El-Hajj when I worked there.
What the entire day?
On Stony Island, 85th and Stony.
We used to go over there and get pies. We used to live over there on 70.
Yeah, they used to be in our neighborhood. 79th.
It wasn't 79.
71st.
It was 85th.
It used to be at 47 for Lake Park. It was over there for a while.
That's kind of a more recent.
Right,
No,
yeah.
they was doing it near us.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember where.
I did some delivery stuff. You know, pick up the little guy, kindergarten, take him to school, pick him up every day. Work with his father.
So you have stories to tell. Tell the stories. No, you need to tell the stories.
It's our voices. It's our
Exactly, and if you got it, you can't keep it. You have to give it out because you're not going to be here forever.
voices. You gotta let the record reflect. Let the record reflect.
Exactly, because that's history.
All right, don't talk, yeah. Remember Mars, yeah. Frank Martin did, brother we made hard with John Hunter. He worked at the bakery.
You remember Felix, right?
Huh?
You remember Felix, the light-skinned brother?
He told me that, man. Don't mention no.
No, but
Yeah, he's well fur coat.
yeah.
Everybody to know how to look good, man. So I'm trying to say it, so I look good, man. Trying to tell me I look good. I ain't had no fur. I know Felix, man. Yeah, he got out of space.
Yeah.
I know Felix.
Yeah, that's I started with them at the bakery, but I was in '75. It was in the fall of '75 when I started at the bakery.
He was there when I left, but I got fired. Herbert Jr. fired.
Okay.
Because I worked down the street, I was working nights, and I would oversleep at
Wow.
I get there, I was supposed to be wrapping fire.
And that's exactly what I was doing. I was in the wrapping, shipping and wrapping department.
Polish bars took my job and got out there. I'm on vacation.
And then '75, I was doing that job. I was Charles had made me the shipping and receiving and wrapping supervisor over there. So that's what I was doing over there.
He paid you more money than he paid me. You making big money about it?
Well, it was.
You got your little brown envelope, cried every time you opened it up.
We're building a nation, brother.
Yeah, we. Not I. I understand, yeah. Don't put that, cut that down. Yeah, I know all the guys there. I know who else. Brother that came from Washington. They called him a Pioneer Rapper. His family came here from North Carolina or something. What was the guy's name? He called him the Pioneer Rapper.
I don't remember.
They came here, I think, from Washington. One of those places.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Baker was it was all right. It was all right. I worked there. I worked good. But home out now.
It's just so.
Yeah, he made with gallon of water from the store. Oh, yeah. Just cut down, man, with water. But Omar had.
Because they used to do them at, what do you call it, at Helix. Helix don't do it anymore, man.
Yeah, Helix is kind of.
Not that I'm surprised.
You had a lot to do with that.
Oh, yeah. Both of us.
Anyway, that brother did 13 hours of interviews on the organized crime. And then he was in the community in the early 50s for 2 years.
This is Lincoln?
No, Saheed. Saheed.
My brother, James. Okay.
Saheed, yeah. What's happening, my brother? My father had given it to him when it first came out. He was kind of saved it.
And my nephew was like,
anyway, I got #1, but it was kind of shrunk, kind of tattered.
he's like, write it down. And he did it.
I got it from 1960.
And look how close you
When it first came out, honestly, all the way up to 1969.
And the school,
I got all the volumes. She's got most of the volumes for herself.
just look at President's house. And it was my alma mater, I just went all the way.
Because his wife was Egyptian.
Okay.
And then he went to Al-Azhar University. When they made the trip in '59 with my grandfather.
Oh, yeah, I got some video. I mean, I've seen
Now it's
some.
Buzzword, and now it's just Buzzword, all of it.
And then the guy over Al-Azhar
We're not starting this, that's right. And the school system is still in operation. There's still that community piece that needs to bring the child.
Governor Abdel Nasser, the president at the time, paid for it, so he went there.
Wow.
I was talking, in the later years, I became very close to my father, very close. Matter of fact, Olive and myself watched his body.
That's why.
It broke my heart when he passed, but he didn't fear death.
He knew it was.
He made me he didn't know so much was coming, but when he really got sick, and he told me, I started crying. He said, he made me strong, man. He brought me back. I said, and his wife right now today, his wife will tell you he was not afraid to die. And when we did his body, this little Pakistani brother up there in Bingham University, his name was, actually he had the same name like my son named Anas.
Okay.
The brother said out of 39 or 40 bodies he had ever watched, he never had seen a body so peaceful.
Allahu Akbar.
Wow.
Yeah. Allahu Akbar.
When they buried him, you know, up there they don't have the same laws in New York as they have here. They buried him without a casket. They buried him just shrouded up. And check it out. They'll put him right down, flat on, and that I think they were. I don't think it was even 6 feet.
Sister Clara.
Yeah, it might have been 6 feet. Yeah, I think it was 6 feet. It was 6 feet. Check it out. And they put him down in there. He's just in the shroud, and then they take a big sheet of plywood, and like his body is laying right here like this, and they put a piece of plywood at an angle like this and have it over top of him like this, and propped up in the grave. Then they put the dirt on top of him like that. And trimmed me out. I never seen it.
That's something I've never heard described.
It gave us
Wow.
a sense
Oh, you see what's right there.
even there were several times we
Yeah, my sister was in here earlier today. She's like, how they gonna have me a picture? What's he?
Check this out, man. I remember Morris. Please remember these days. It was my schoolmate. Charlie.
Yeah, Jackie and Charlie.
Charlie was my age.
regular clothes.
But I remember these pictures. If I look closer,
Might see yourself.
this is my brother Herbert right here.
Oh,
That's my brother
okay.
Esau there.
Okay.
Esau there, we go by the name of Jesus now. Yeah, that's him right there. That's my grandfather. I think that's Sister Nellie. Sister Nellie used to be my first. I used to be in love
Your
with her.
teachers, I think we all were. Yeah, I think we all were.
Kindergarten, first grader.
Yeah.
That shit, she was last too.
Wow.
Not sister, I had sister, not Nellie, Sister Therese. Oh my God.
Is it Elsie?
No,
Effie.
no.
Remember Effie?
Wait, she's in one.
I remember Effie.
You remember Effie?
I have one and only right here teaching science.
Who's that?
This is Dr. Lane Muhammad's
Oh,
over there.
yeah, check it out.
Sister Hafiza,
Yes.
you might recognize somebody in that book right over in the corner over there.
Man, this is so cool, man. Now, Feast, this is right on, man. I gotta donate to this effort here, man.
Yeah.
On a monthly basis.
You know that guy, huh?
You know who this is, man?
Yeah, I know who that is.
Who's
Do
it?
you know who it is?
Yeah,
Sister
this
Marva.
my aunt Pat.
That's Pat?
Yeah.
I got to mix it with Marva, Sister Marva. But that's right, okay, you're right.
That's my aunt Pat right
Yeah,
here.
that's her teaching. Yes.
That's Uncle
Yeah,
Junior's.
yeah.
Uncle
Okay.
Junior's
Yeah.
wife.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because somebody was thinking it was Sister Marva.
I thought it was Sister Marva. Well, you're right, that's her.
Okay.
I even have some of the,
I probably need a.
yeah, some
I
of
got
the
one of those
correspondence.
things on my phone.
When you,
It's a light and magnify that.
Yeah.
My eyes ain't that great. I got a cataract.
I mean, and
on
then
one
again,
of them.
these are photographs that are small.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Give me an excuse, thank you.
now, did you grow up in North New Jersey?
Hey, see something like that.
You were born in
One of those magnifying things, you know.
Now, I have so many relatives in North. Where's
Yeah,
your
that's right
family?
there. Check this out. This thing here is bad. Then it got a light on it.
Oh, okay, that
Check this
helps.
out.
That definitely helps. That helps. Oh my goodness,
Oh,
that helps
yeah,
so
that's
much.
nice.
Okay, Vickers, do you know any
You can even
records
read
and
the
awards?
print.
Wait a minute, it's not getting that, it's not that great. It's not that. Oh, there you go. There you go. See
Yeah,
that?
that's the
Check it out.
I
focus.
have a whole lot of family.
Herman.
My grandfather
That her
and
mind?
my grandmother migrated from Dolphin in Alabama, in that area, to North New Jersey.
She's in the
Oh,
South
no, I
Side.
left that book
From,
on. One of the other things I
wanna
wanted to
say
ask you
What's this sister right
was
there?
they said there was a sister at the house, and I'm still trying to get her name, if it was Katie. Was there a sister named Katie at the house? Katie? That was working at the house, the unrecognized mother at that time?
She was really into
That was her name, Katie.
Just had a, just had a,
I heard some,
had a picture of her.
yeah, during the time that Rasul was
She was
around.
really young.
Right, okay. Okay, yeah, that's what they was, yeah, that's what they told
If I'm
me.
not mistaken, she was also from Newark.
Are you serious? Okay, and she worked at the house. And she worked with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. She was directly typed, yeah. Well, okay, all right, that's, I supposed to make sure that name was correct. Because I heard some things that she was responsible for a lot of stuff, handling a lot of the affairs when they started to isolate Rasul over at the house. Abbas Rasul. When they tried to isolate him, everything was coming through Sister Katie. Right, and they just let Rasul sit there once they found out who he really
A
was.
lot of times you have to really sit down.
I don't even know where he learned it.
Right, right.
Because it's been so long.
No, right, right.
You forget a lot of things. But you know, when you're talking to
He would come home, and I'd be like, Jerry, can I learn it?
experience,
Girl,
you
I
just
just
remember a lot of stuff.
Right, right.
So I was sitting
Yeah,
back door frame right here before I let you educate my children. And little lady stood up to that big man and all he could do was close the door and say, and left her. And she didn't send me to school. Muhammad never went to their school. Instead, he went to our school. And Elijah Muhammad sent the message. I need you to go get Minister James. This was one of the ministers at the time. We called them ministers instead of imams. He said, go get Minister James and let Minister James teach our children. And he did. And that same teacher that we now had, I had. My husband. Did you have him, Fix Your Box?
No,
She did not.
he was past being a principal. He was more like a consultant.
A consultant, okay. But she was around when he was still working at the school, but not as a teacher.
Right.
So some of us, we all experienced him in some kind of way. He was a beautiful man. So alhamdulillah for that. You all know who this is? No. No? Do you know Masjid Al-Taqwa? Not really. Do you know Ali and Aliyah, the puppets that sometimes perform at the Eid? You know the sister who's always talking about Ali and Aliyah? She stands in front of the stage and she's talking to the puppets? That sister's his mommy. His name is Tariq. He is now the Imam of Masjid Al-Taqwa. He's Imam Tariq Element. And the puppeteers are his sisters and his cousins and his relatives, his nieces and nephews. And the person who's designed the whole thing is his mommy. So one of these students that went to the Clara Muhammad School is now an imam. And then this sister right here, you recognize her? You know her children. Do you know a girl named Tina?
Yeah.
Do you know a boy named Rashid?
Yes.
That's their mommy. That's Sister Rashida. Yeah, she comes out to the weekend school, or the children come out to the weekend school. So you know some of the people in here. They do come to prayer. Yes, they do come to prayer. So this is an example of our educational system. Do you all know anything about this entity right here? Have you ever heard of that? You ever heard? I'll show you where we are shortly. You all know about this entity? Most of these pictures that you're seeing, not all of them, but most of these pictures came from this. What is this? What is that? What's the Muslim Journal? What's going on in the Muslim community? And the Muslim Journal, it used to be called the Muhammad Speaks. It used to be called the Bilalian News. It used to be called the, was it Pittsburgh Carrier? It used to be called the Pittsburgh Carrier. So that
Articles were carried in the Pittsburgh Carrier.
It was some articles.
There were some articles.
Muhammad Speaks.
Yeah, so
yeah.
they started writing, and I'm part of another paper called the Pittsburgh Carrier. So you've heard of Malik Shabazz or Malcolm X? He helped to establish this paper way, 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 way back. And it's been running for a very, very long time. Very long time. So, and a lot of these pictures came from there. Okay, we're going to go here. So, Sister Clara Muhammad, should we be saying thank you to her? I think so too. All right. I'm up there somewhere, but it doesn't matter.
Sister Lynn, I just want to bring up, I remember the theme song for Sister Clara Muhammad School. Sister Clara Muhammad, Clara Muhammad
You all know
School.
that song. Sister Camila has taught you all that song. You all can probably sing that song, can't you?
Yeah. Name
Yeah.
for our
Yes,
sister
you do
dear.
know the song. Okay, so this is, I talked about the Muslim Journal, and I said most of these pictures that you all are seeing came from the Muslim Journal. At one point it was called the Bilalian News. This represents at a particular time, not the entire history, just a tiny snippet of the history. These are all the people that worked for the paper, right? From here all the way over to where Yasmina is. These are all people that worked for the paper. These are people who did different kinds of jobs. So we had the press department. They were the ones who ran the big, huge machines that put the print on the paper, because the paper was just plain white paper at first. And they had to make sure that the print got on the paper. First, the print had to be made ready for the paper, and then they had to put it on the paper. Once the papers were made, where are we going to send these papers? Well, you need a trucking system to get the papers out. So there was a team of people that actually helped to get the papers put into the trucks and then carried on to where they had to go. Anybody have any clue who that man is right there? Who? That's my daddy. That's my daddy right there. That's my pops. And my father used to drive trucks like this. We call them 18-wheelers. And he used to carry papers and fish and stuff back and forth from one country to another. My father took us to the airport where our plane, this is a picture of our plane. This we used to have, not me, my family, but the Muslim community owned that plane right there. And my father used to take us to the airport where this plane was. And eventually he learned how to be a manager by working with our community, and he became in charge of the transportation system of our community. These people right here were our bus drivers. These are our bus drivers. That was my bus driver. His name is Brother John. I'm getting to this one right here. Yep, getting to that. So this was Brother John, and it's now, you all heard of this thing called Facebook? Facebook. Yeah. You heard of Facebook? Yeah. Well, there's actually a Facebook page called Brother John's Bus, and it's for all the people who rode Brother John's bus. And not just Brother John's bus, but the people who went to our school, who went to the University of Islam, or
Sister Clara Muhammad School. Yep.
And then this brother right here, he's at the Baha Center now. He's still around. He's still at the Baha Center. This brother right here is my stepfather. That's my daddy, my real father. This is my stepfather. He drove trucks, and that's his son, Yusuf. And Yusuf drove trucks. And Yusuf drove the school buses down in Atlanta for the Sister Clara Muhammad School in Atlanta, Georgia. Yusuf also helped to get a lot of people on Hajj. He was part of an organization that helped a lot of people make it to Hajj. And I believe, yeah, Yusuf is in that picture where Imam Muhammad is making Hajj. Yusuf is in that picture standing behind Imam Muhammad. He passed not too long ago, but before he helped a lot of people make it to Hajj. Well, he was a truck driver, a bus driver, and a truck driver, partially because his father was a truck driver, and because our community helped to train him to be one. His son now is a doctor, a Jewish doctor, which is helped a lot. And he went to the University of, he went to the Clara Muhammad School in Atlanta. He went to the school, and his son went to the school in Atlanta. He went to the University of Islam, and his son went to the Clara Muhammad School. They also, this is where they made the pictures that were ready to go on the press. So there was a team that had to do the typing and get the pictures ready. That's this team right here. And I went to school with him. He went to the Clara Muhammad School. Do you all know a sister named Kiel Abdullah? Sister Eva? Sister Eva is his mommy. Kiel is his sister. So he was in school with us too. Not him, sorry. That's what these two are the same people. All right, and then you had to have the drawings. There was this big, huge thing with cartoons and drawings and artwork. This is the team that did the graphics for the paper. And then the business piece, you had to have people that handle, do you want 10 copies or 1,000 copies of the Muslim Journal or the Bilalian News? This secretarial staff and people who had to answer calls and send out messages. This is the secretarial staff. This sister, her name is Sister Anna. Sister Anna actually is now a big, huge professor at Ohio State University. At Buckeye State. She is doing research in biochemistry, and she's doing some really, really great things. This sister right here, her name is Sister Constance. And Sister Constance actually owned Books Inc., where, Yasmina, you were in Books Inc. with me when you were with us for the summer. that place. Sister Constance owned it. Sister Constance is now a medical doctor, and she graduated from Harvard University with her medical degree and some other degrees in addition to that. And she used to be a secretary as part of our community. So alhamdulillah for the progress that they've made. So this is all part of what it takes to get a paper out. So at one point, this community trained and prepared people to be able to have all these different jobs, and then they did their work training other people. So this community didn't just take care of the pioneers, it didn't just provide for the children, it also gave an economic base jobs. My father raised 9 children off of this job. So he didn't get paid a whole lot, but he had enough money coming from this job that allowed, even when he was a truck driver, he had like 7 children. He made enough money from that job to be able to take care of us and keep us from having to work. When we worked, when we became teenagers, we didn't have to work when we were little. What does that say? What? What does that say? Your what? Supermarket. We had a store. I said we had a farm. I said that we had a way to get our meat. We had a store where we sold our meat. My mother would drive up to this store once a month. We had this big, huge car like Grandmommy has the van with this big, huge car. And we would pack 3 shopping carts sometimes full of groceries, all from your supermarket. And this is how we had our food. We owned this store, not me, my family, but the community owned this store. So we didn't have to go to Jewel or to Costco or to Walmart. We had our own Muslim community store, or Target, yeah. And people worked here. I used to work there. I worked in the office as helping them with their bookkeeping and stuff. I know other people that used to work there. So we had a way of getting our food, but we also had a way of getting our jobs. Now the work that I did was I was helping them with accounting. I didn't go to accountancy school. The community showed me how to do it. The community taught me, and then alhamdulillah put us to work. So see all these people working in there, and all this food that they had all down these aisles. Lots and lots of stuff. Let's turn the corner. I mentioned when I was talking about the community, about the bank. This is the bank that was on Stony Island. It's called Guarantee Bank. At the time, we called it Guarantee Bank. And we owned that bank. And that's the first place where I started my own checking account, right there at Guarantee Bank. Sorry about that. I started it at Guarantee Bank. And alhamdulillah, some people, Nafis, thank you for calling me. Let's call a pocket dial in your hand. So we had a bank. There were plans for building buildings. You gotta have plans before you build a building. That's a plan. That building was actually built. I used to work in that building. I used to work. This picture right here is of the farm. And this is, we had the pictures of the farm, and then we actually brought the farms, and we actually have plants and animals being raised and grown on these farms. And this is just a picture of an example, and then this is the paper, at that time called the Muhammad Speaks, and it says, fight poverty and want with, you want something, you're poor, you don't have enough money, fight it with farming. Grow your own. Plant your own, grow your own, sell your own, eat your own. That's a way to fight all hunger. It's a way to fight poverty.
Called do for self.
Huh?
I said called do for self.
It's called do for self. And at that time, the paper was like, you're hungry? Get rid of it. Do for yourself. Get some land. Make it work. And that's what we did. And so this paper was an inspiration to say, hey, we're about to build this building. And it's going to have clothing and a shoe market and a dress shop and a newspaper and a printing facility. I don't think they ever put the printing facility in there. And the bakery was down the street from it. But we had a clothing store, and we had some shoes, and we had a place where we made clothing. It was a little further down the street. But all of this started as a dream. It started out as an idea. And then the idea became a drawing, and the drawing became, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Yes, we do. And it was built, and we made it happen. The restaurant was there. I ate in it. I know. I danced in there. I know it was there, but it started out as a dream. And that dream became a reality. The paper helped to share that dream with all of us. Different kind of businesses operated. Have you ever heard of a bean pie?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a product of our community. Yeah, me too. I agree. Sister Tahina, have they been good today? Yeah. Should I give them a pie? Yes. Okay, I think I'll give them a pie. I had to throw it out though. So Brother Charles, you all know Brother Charles from the Mosque Cares, he donated supplies, so I'm going to give you all a pie to take home. Okay? Is that a good idea? So bean pie came from our community. there was this fish called the whiting H&G fish. Head and gutted is what H&G stood for. And those trucks that I told you about, they would haul the whiting from one part of the country to another part of the country. It would go by ships and into truck and then into our stores. And so here was some sardines. We had sardines. We still sell sardines, but they're not our sardines. But at one point we had our own sardines. So that's pretty cool. People have started their own businesses from products that we had in our community. So here's an example of a business that was started by some Muslims that are selling products in our community, and that Muslim Journal helped to advertise that. In this case, this was earlier on before the name was changed to Muslim Journal from Muhammad Speaks. This is a man, a cartoon picture of a man who owns his own business called Akbar's. There was a picture of Omar Jews. You all ever heard of Omar Jews? Omar on the Nile? No.
Oh, that's some good stuff.
It's hidden back here.
Oh.
But there's, come here. I don't know if you all can see that top picture on this side. That man with that beige jacket on, that was Brother Henry Omar.
Yeah.
And he started Omar on the Nile, and it still existed. He's passed. But I don't have any juice, I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry. I have to see if we can work on getting some of that sample of that. Let's go this way. We're almost done.
And the very unique thing about Omar on the Nile, it was made out of vegetables.
You tasted the celery, and it was so good.
Delicious.
It was like, ew, that celery. It was like so good. It was just totally good.
Celeries and carrots.
That bean pie again. Woohoo! I'm going to give you some. All right, so this represents the paper. So the paper, Muhammad Speaks, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz is the one who helped to start it. Then now it's Muslim Journal. We told the story of through drawings. There was one cartoonist named Eugene Majid. Eugene Majid's artwork it impacted so many of our lives. Some of us would just get the paper just to see the cartoons that was inside. I'm being real about it. Eventually we started reading it.
She's not exaggerating.
A lot of us, we just got it just to see what picture did Eugene Majid do. And this is yes. This is one of his, Majid. So this is one of his pictures that he drew. This is one that was in color. He had a lot of black and white ones, but this is definitely one of his that's in color. And I think this might be him too. Very, very detailed artwork. We have somebody else is drawing for the Muslim Journal now, but at that time when it was Muhammad Speaks, it was Eugene Majid. And I can honestly say, his daughter Janelle was in my class. I went to school with her.
Yeah.
His wife, Sister Maddie, was my handwriting teacher. So I knew him through his wife and through his daughter.
I gotta get a copy of this. That's what I was trying to do for days.
This here?
Yes, that's what I was trying to do for days.
I don't have.
Get that together.
I'll try to get a copy.
Son.
Yeah, I'll try to get a copy. And then we've got lots of copies of the Muslim journals on these tables.
And then the other thing I want to mention, these comic strip drawings weren't just to make us laugh. They were to make us think.
They made you think. They made you think.
There
was one, children, this grossed me totally out. There was a guy sitting at a table. So imagine, I'm sitting at a table. I have a fork and something else in my hand. And I'm big. My cheeks are all puffed out. I'm sitting there and food dripping out of my mouth. I'm just sitting there like I'm just so greedy. And on that table, it was a long table, was the head of a pig facing me. And there was a pot with some chitlins in it. And there was some other stuff with some legs of feet of pig in it. And down there was an animal, a pet on the floor, waiting for some of my food to drop so it could eat it. And it was like, he's sitting there like all big and puffy. His features even look like a pig. And as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, I don't ever want to eat a pig in my life.
It's not going to be good.
It grossed me totally out. And I never have that I'm aware of eating hog. But that picture was like enough to say, that's not something you want to eat. And what it showed was that he started to take on the characteristics of the animal that he was eating. And that was the message that they were trying to show us, is that you take on the characteristics of the food that you eat.
You are what you eat.
You are what you eat is the message that we were trying to get, that he was trying to get us to see. And so that's one of the pictures that I'll never forget. And I was like, Eugene, okay, I got it. It's clear in my mind. Don't have to worry about me ever touching that stuff again. Let's see. This is a picture. I need you all to come closer, Nafis. Never mind. I don't know if you can do it. I
It's on
think
community
right up
leadership.
this light.
Yeah.
This picture right here has two buildings in it. And one of these buildings is no longer there, and that's this one right here. If you drive down the street that I'm about to tell you, this building is still there. This was the school where we went. This is on, the address is 5335 South Greenwood. This is 5337 South Greenwood. This was Temple number 2, and this was the University of Islam number 2. Yes?
What happened to the other building?
They tore it down and they put some apartments there. Somebody brought the land and said we wanted apartments there. And this building is owned by St. Jude, or church, I'm sorry, church has it now. And so we sold it to them. We didn't need it anymore. It was too small for us. We had so many children. The school couldn't house all of us. When I was in high school, our classes were in this building because this building was packed to capacity. And we needed more space. So we sold those buildings and we brought the building that's now on Stony Island. Have they been by 73rd and Stony? Do they know where Mosque Mariam is?
I'm not sure.
Well, maybe Grandmommy one day will take you all by there. But that's the building that we brought after we sold these two buildings right here. And like I said, this one is not even there anymore.
Actually, it was 19, I came to Chicago for the first time in 1967. And then, I think
I got like volumes.
Okay. Yeah, there's correspondence, and those correspondence came from the probate case.
Okay. Oh, I have tons of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have thousands of pages of the probate.
We were fighting for our freedom.
Right, and I had a friend that was working for the
I was
county.
in his class. This was my graduate.
Less than 10 years ago.
I was in Murad's
And they were able to go, as the guy said when he went down there, when they brought the files back to the county,
Well, when you have school.
the clerk said, or the warehouse guy said, who brought Elijah Muhammad back alive? So they
all
was,
that's public.
it's all public. You just had to pay for it.
That started out with.
So we went down and we was able to retrieve
That's what I was even talking
2 reams or more. The case, the history, and those letters were part of that case. Those correspondence with you because you was a key player. You was, I know they questioned
I'll
you.
never forget the judge at that time, Judge Bazinski, and he was so nice and respectful. And we kept wondering, why is there so much separateness, among those who we're trying to help, because at that time it was like, this for self, well, I think for self, but we were trying to just solidify everything that we had under the Nation of Islam. So it was a hard fight. That was one of the most stressful times of my life.
Right, I knew it had to be because you was, I remember that. I remember I was looking at those documents and looking at things and how, why did y'all transfer this money over here? When you went to the bank and what happened to signatures?
And then when you're in a situation like sometimes so hard because you're trying to be confidential. And then everybody gets these questions. We were trained. We don't just talk to
You're right. Because I was the secretary of the department.
Exactly.
And I said, no, that was our job. We was to keep our secrets. So, I mean, what was I talking about? I mean, we didn't talk about that stuff. We didn't talk about that stuff.
And now this girl is telling me about my permission.
And you'll be a high school.
I'm glad that you
Mosqueres, and then he does the Arabic class on Sundays. This is his daughter.
Don't touch.
Dr. Fatima Muhammad.
They be all right. Those are children. You know better than I do.
Yeah, I know.
They gonna play.
But I know some people are very particular. They're very particular.
Let me explain, and then we can look at it. Okay? So, this is a community right here. And we want to see all these pieces of the community. So what does that say? Who can read that? What does that say? Can you read that? Halal products. Do you know what halal products mean? It means foods that we can eat. So it's meat, mostly meat that we can eat because it's been raised and prepared for us to eat in the right way. What does that say?
Thank you.
Unity brand halal products. So this is an example of this is the farm. And then from the farm,
It goes to the store.
it goes to the company to put it together for it to be sold. And then here we got what? And above it says Shabazz Bakery. He used to work at the bakery that supplied us with lots and lots of different kind of foods, such as breads, such as cookies, and pies, and tarts, and all kinds of stuff. He used to work there. That's Brother Lester. And then we have a community cafe, because part of the of eating, you got to have a place for people to sit down and drink and stuff like that while they're eating. And then the mosque cares, we know about the mosque cares. How about that? Salam. I used to go to a place called Salam Restaurant. And when I was graduating out of high school, our graduation luncheon was at the Salam Restaurant. When I was a child, we actually had a way of preparing the food. And there was this brother named Saeed. He had a butcher shop in the store. And my brothers used to work in this butcher shop. And that's where we got a lot of our meat. And a lot of that meat came from our farm. And there was a farm in Michigan. There was a farm down in Georgia. And we ate the meat that came from those farms. I ate food from the bakery. And my mother would go over there. We would get the food from there. And we would buy the food from there. The Mosqueres, I learned about the Mosqueres when I was an adult. But you all know about it as a child. So when I was your age, I was actually visiting places like this to get our food from. Eat my food. What do you think this represents? If you will aid the cause of Allah, the Almighty, He will aid you and plant your feet firmly. What do you think that means?
He will take care of you.
Allah will take care of you. So if you do right by Allah, Allah will take care of you. Allah took care of us through these businesses, through all of these businesses. What about that? What about this one? This is a masjid.
What about
This one right here, this is saying that if we do right by Allah, Allah will take care of us. And this one is the school.
Clara
Muhammad School. And this one is a bank, and we had a bank on Stony Island.
What is that?
Called Guarantee Bank. And this is like a community store. It's like a store where you can buy food. Another store. It's like a home. It's like a home. Oh, that looks like the newspaper. The last one.
And then
This is the newspaper. And look, in order to get around, you need transportation. So you need trucks. Wait, don't touch it. Don't touch it. I'm just showing it to you. You need cars. The community owned cars. The community owned trucks. The community owned a plane. We used to have a plane that would travel back and forth from state to state. And one of the things my father did, my father started out driving trucks, and eventually he became the transportation manager, which controlled the trucks that were going across the nation, from one end of the United States to another end of the United States.
Can we see all the trucks?
Let's see how many trucks.
Well, we can definitely also see a bus.
Oh, speaking of buses.
Yes, going to the school.
The school. They would pick us up at our houses and take us to the school. And the girls would go to school in the afternoon, and the boys went to school in the morning. And that's how we got around. It was on our school buses. Most of us rode on the school buses. Yeah. Our buses were yellow buses, not blue buses, but yeah, buses.
That just gives you the idea.
Yeah, just an idea. Okay, now let's go look over here. How long we're gonna take it back? But what's going on in this picture? What do you see?
They're talking.
What are they're talking? Where are they? Where? What? Doing what?
Praying. The Hajj.
Where? The part of the Hajj. Exactly. So this is an example of Muslims in our community making the Hajj. So in this picture, I don't know if you know anybody on this row. What you think? You know anybody down here?
Look familiar.
You have anybody down here you recognize?
I know you do, Jamila.
Jamila, she's smiling. That's Imam Muhammad right there. And this is brother. This is his brother.
Well, his brother.
Or his older brother, named Ayman. He also used the name Emmanuel. And I think this is Mustafa Rahman. I think. So this is the brother that I'm thinking about. He owned a car wash on 87th off of Cottage Grove I think it's called Original Car Wash. And he has 3 sons. And his wife is Sakina Rahman.
Yeah.
So I believe his name is Mustafa Rahman, I believe. I don't recognize anyone
one of
else.
his older sons was class ahead of me. That's
Okay.
Clara Muhammad.
Okay, and one of his middle son is actually an educator.
Yeah,
Yeah, and named after his father. So
Yeah.
matter of fact. Can I get this back to you and you put it in your pocket maybe?
Yes.
Maybe? Thank you. All right, so this is an example of us making Hajj. Now, Dr. Fatima has made Hajj. My husband has made Hajj. Ma'am Nafis, I've made Hajj. You made Hajj? Hajj, alhamdulillah, inshallah. Inshallah. And today they're actually celebrating the return of the Hajjis for this year at the Ibn Bahassan. So it's over now. Yep, they were having a celebration for the Hajjis coming back. Okay, let's move this way, right here. So this wall right here, that represents community as a model of community life, and then the completion of the whole Muslim community with the Hajj as an example of the big picture of the community life of Muslims. This represents within our community things that we have done and are still doing to make sure our community continues to thrive. One of the things that we do is we take care of our pioneers. So you have a couple of pictures up here of pioneers. We've got this large group here. We have in the books here different things that we've done with our pioneers. For example, this is not just our pioneers, but this is the pioneers and the elderly. This sister, and the young. This sister right here, her name is Manayama, who I killed. Sister Manayama and her husband, Brother Chavez, actually used to run the program here in Chicago to go out and take care of the elderly, visit them, the sick committee, we called it, the sick and elderly committee. They would go out and they would make sure that they had food, that they had a big committee, and every once in a while I would go out with her. Before she started with her husband, Sister Clara Muhammad, who I'm going to talk about in a minute, while her husband was teaching and going across the country and doing this thing on Sundays, she and another sister, Sister Amina Ali, would get in their cars and they would drive around and visit the sick and the people who could not get out. Sister Amina Ali was at Juma yesterday at the Mosque Cares, and I know you were there. And so she usually comes to the Mosque Cares for that. So Sister Amina, Sister Clara Muhammad, Sister Manayama, Brother Chavez, Sister Shakira Bashir, always making sure that our pioneers are taken care of. She's made her transition now. Her husband has made his transition, so they're not able to do it anymore. But others have picked up the ball and they're doing it. You want to know who that is? Probably never seen him. Oh, you do know who that is. Well, here he is talking to Sister Manayama. And he was in Chicago a lot. So that's just one example of us taking care of the community, is to take care of our sick and our shut-ins. This picture right here, anybody recognize that name right there? And a horn in his mouth?
And it's an odd way to spell cool.
That's not the normal way to spell it. Anybody recognize somebody named Cool and he plays a wind instrument? How about the words Cool and the Gang?
You remember Cool and the Gang?
Cool and the Gang, you don't know any. Oh man, I'm feeling so old.
That was some good music though. That was some good music.
Is some good
I'm sorry, babe.
It's a musical group called Cool and the Gang. Ronald Bell and his brother were the ones who started Cool and the Gang. They came to the home of one of the leaders, Imam Wartha Muhammad's father's home. We came to his house and
you just turned it back.
And I forgot his brother's name and gave them Muslim names as Arabic names, Muslim names as a result. And they still use their Arabic names. Bayan, they still use their Arabic names too. This is a picture of Muhammad Ali, and this is his father. His name is Elijah Muhammad, or we call him the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. His name at birth was Elijah Poole, and he was changed from Poole to Muhammad. And he was the father of Imam Wartha Muhammad, and he was the one who got all of these African Americans who became Muslims. It was partially because of him and the work that he started. And this whole community piece started with him. Okay, so we had all these different community things going on. The pioneers were being taken care of. This is a whole group of pioneers. Some of them are still alive. Sister Minnie is still alive here in Chicago. I think that's her right there. Some of them have transitioned on. Sister Claudel. That's Sister Claudel right there. She's been around for a very, very long time and a beautiful sister. So we have a lot of things that our community has done to help make sure the community is strong. One of the things that the community has done is to make sure that our children have an education. You all know about that.
Don't forget Sister Clara.
I'm about to get to that. So one of the things that our community has done is to make sure that our children have an education. So these pictures are about Islamic education here in the United States of America, but it's not just the United States of America. We actually have a school I know for sure in Bermuda. So we're international, we're not just a national school system. And this system, when I was in school, when my husband was in school, we called it the University of Islam. When Dr. Fatima was in school, and others as young as she is, we called it the Sister Clara Muhammad School. Now you all know it as the Sister Clara Muhammad School. Why do we call it the Sister Clara Muhammad School? And who is Sister Clara Muhammad? To go where? To prayer. Sister Clara Muhammad did go to prayer, you're right. Who was Sister Clara? You're looking over here. Why are you looking over here? Why are you looking over here? Okay, her husband, but that's her picture right there. This is Sister Clara's picture right here. And her husband was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that is Sister Clara up there. And that's who we named the school after, Sister Clara. So all of these schools, and there are lots of them across the United States, and we're growing, and the number is growing. All of these schools, we put them under the Sister Clara Muhammad School label because Sister Clara Muhammad did a whole lot to get the school system started. When it was first started, it was called University of Islam. Her son, Imam Warthaddin Muhammad, changed the name from University of Islam to Sister Clara Muhammad School. And according to the story that we were told, Imam Muhammad was about maybe their age, or maybe a little bit older. His father, because the government was doing some weird stuff, they put his father in jail. And a lot of the other brothers went to jail. So the sisters and some of the older brothers, they had the job of keeping the community going. They had already started educating, and all of a sudden, the brothers were gone. So the sisters were left to do all the work. So they did what they could. Elijah Muhammad sent a message from prison to his, oh wow, sent a message from, hold on, let me come here, look.
Where is mine?
Is your mommy? See, she went to the Clara Muhammad School. I taught your uncle Muhammad, Ahad, and Dooley. I taught all three of them. I don't know if I taught the girls.
Yes, you mean.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I did. Your Aisha or Amira?
No, they were at like Amirabus. No, they were out of school.
They were out of school back then.
Yeah, they had graduated. Aisha had graduated, and the school had closed.
Okay.
And Amirabus went somewhere else with the boys.
Okay.
Nah.
That's your mommy right there. So Sister Clara Muhammad, when she was told to, she had to teach because her husband was in prison. She had Imam Muhammad as her young son, and she had some other children too. And she didn't want her children to go to the regular school. So they called the police on her and said, hey, this lady's not educating her children. So the truant officer came to her house and said, lady, you got to put your children in school. And she was like, no, lady, we're going to arrest you if you don't put your children in school. There was this big, huge man, they said, a big, huge, like big man. And she was this skinny little lady. And she's standing at the door and she's, I'm not putting my children in your school. Lady, we're going to put you in jail if you don't put your children in school. Look, I'm going to be as dead as this door frame right here before I let you educate my children. That little lady stood up to that big man, and all he could do was close the door and say, okay, and left her. And she didn't send him to school. Imam Muhammad never went to their school. Instead, he went to our school. And Elijah Muhammad sent the message, I need you to go get Minister James. This was one of the ministers at the time. We called them ministers instead of imams. He said, go get Minister James and let Minister James teach our children. And he did. And that same teacher that Imam had, I had. My husband had. Did you have him, Sheikh Shabazz?
No.
She did not.
He was past being a principal.
Okay.
He was more like a consultant.
A consultant, okay. But she was around when he was still working at the school, but not as a teacher.
Right.
So some of us, we all experienced him in some kind of way. He was a beautiful man. So alhamdulillah for that. You all know who this is? No? Do you know Masjid Al-Taqwa? Not really. Do you know Ali and Aliyah, the puppets that sometimes perform at the Eid? You know the sister who's always talking about Ali and Aliyah? She stands in front of the stage and she's talking to the puppets? That sister's his mommy. His name is Tariq. He is now the Imam of Masjid Al-Taqwa. He's Imam Tariq Element. And the puppeteers are his sisters and his cousins and his relatives, his nieces and nephews. And the person who's designed the whole thing is his mommy. So one of these students that went to the Clara Muhammad School is now an Imam. And then this sister right here, you recognize her? You know her children. You know a girl named Dina?
Yeah.
You know a boy named Rashid?
Yes.
That's their mommy. That's Sister Rashida. Yeah, she comes out to the weekend school. Or the children come out to the weekend school. So you know some of the people in here. They do come to prayer. Yes, they do come to prayer. So this is an example of our educational system. Do you all know anything about this entity right here? Have you ever heard of that? You ever heard? I'll show you what we are shortly. You all know about this entity? Most of these pictures that you're seeing, not all of them, but most of these pictures came from this. What is this? What is that? What's the Muslim journal? What's going on in the Muslim community? And the Muslim journal, it used to be called the Muhammad Speaks. It used to be called the Bilalian News. It used to be called the, was it Pittsburgh Carrier? It used to be called the Pittsburgh Carrier. So that
articles were carried in the Pittsburgh Carrier.
There were some articles that were in the Pittsburgh. Yeah, so they started writing and a part of another paper called the Pittsburgh Carrier. So you've heard of Malik Shabazz or Malcolm X? He helped to establish this paper way, 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 way back. And it's been running for a very, very long time. Very long time. So, and a lot of these pictures came from there. Okay, we're gonna go here. So, Sister Clara Muhammad. And thank you to her? I think so too. All right. I'm up there somewhere, but it doesn't matter.
Sister Lynn, I just want to bring up, I remember the theme song.
I talked about the Muslim Journal, and I said most of these pictures that you all are seeing came from the Muslim Journal. At one point it was called the Bilalian News. This represents at a particular time, not the entire history, just a tiny snippet of the history. These are all the people that worked for the paper, right? From here all the way over to where Yasmina is. These are all people that worked for the paper. These are people who did different kinds of jobs. So we had the press department. They were the ones who ran the big, huge machines that put the print on the paper, because the paper was just plain white paper at first. And they had to make sure that the print got on the paper. First, the print had to be made ready for the paper, and then they had to put it on the paper. Once the papers were made, where are we going to send these papers? Well, you need a trucking system to get the papers out. So there was a team of people that actually helped to get the papers put into the trucks and then carried on to where they had to go. Anybody have any clue who that man is right there? Who? That's my daddy. That's my daddy right there. That's my pops. And my father used to drive trucks like this. We call them 18-wheelers. He used to carry papers and fish and stuff back and forth from one country to another. My father took us to the airport where our plane, this is a picture of our plane, which we used to have, not me, my family, but the Muslim community owned that plane. And my father used to take us to the airport where this plane was. And eventually he learned how to be a manager by working with our community, and he became in charge of the transportation system of our community. These people right here were our bus drivers. These are our bus drivers. That was my bus driver. His name is Brother John. I'm getting to this one right here. Yep, getting to that. So this was Brother John. And it's now, you all heard of this thing called Facebook? Facebook.
Yes.
You heard of Facebook?
Yeah.
Well, there's actually a Facebook page called Brother John's Bus. And it's for all the people who rode Brother John's bus. And not just Brother John's bus, but it's the people who went to our school, who went to the University of Islam or Sister Clara Muhammad School. And then this brother right here, he's at the Baha Center now. He's still around, he's still at the Baha Center. This brother right here is my stepfather. That's my daddy, my real father. This is my stepfather. He drove trucks, and that's his son, Yusuf. And Yusuf drove trucks. And Yusuf drove the school buses down in Atlanta for the Sister Clara Muhammad School in Atlanta, Georgia. Yusuf also helped to get a lot of people on Hajj. He was part of an organization that helped a lot of people make it to Hajj. And I believe, yeah, Yusuf is in that picture where Imam Muhammad is making Hajj. Yusuf is in that picture standing behind Imam Muhammad. He passed not too long ago, but before he died, he helped a lot of people make it to Hajj. Well, he was a truck driver, a bus driver, and a truck driver, partially because his father was a truck driver, and because our community helped to train him to be one. His son now is a doctor, a huge doctor somewhere, which has helped a lot. And he went to the University, he went to the Clara Muhammad School in Atlanta. He went to the school, and his son went to the school in Atlanta. He went to the University of Islam, and his son went to the Clara Muhammad School. They also, this is where they made the pictures that were ready to go on the press. So there was a team that had to do the typing and get the pictures ready. That's this team right here. And I went to school with him. He went to the Clara Muhammad School. Do you all know a sister named Kiel Abdullah? Sister Eva? This is, Sister Eva is his mommy. Kiel is his sister. So he was in school with us too. Not him, sorry. That's Bilal. Yeah, these two are the same people. All right, and then you had to have the drawings. There was this big, huge thing with cartoons and drawings and artwork. This is the team that did the graphics for the paper. And then the business piece, you had to have people that handle, do you want 10 copies or 1,000 copies of the Muslim Journal or the Bilalian News? This secretarial staff and people who had to answer calls and send out messages. This is the secretarial staff. This sister, her name is Sister Anna. Sister Anna actually is now a big, huge professor at Ohio State University. At Buckeye State. She is doing research in biochemistry, and she's doing some really, really great things. This sister right here, her name is Sister Constance. And Sister Constance actually owned Books Inc., where, Yasmina, you were in Books Inc. with me when you were with us for the summer. That place, Sister Constance owned it. Sister Constance is now a medical doctor, and she graduated from Harvard University with her medical degree, and some other degrees in addition to that. And she used to be a secretary as part of our community. So alhamdulillah for the progress that they've made. So this is all part of what it takes to get a paper out. So at one point, this community trained and prepared people to be able to have all these different jobs, and then they did their work training other people. So this community didn't just take care of the pioneers, it didn't just provide for the children, it also gave an economic-based jobs. My father raised 9 children off of this job. So he didn't get paid a whole lot, but he had enough money coming from this job that allowed, even when he was a truck driver, he had like 7 children. He made enough money from that job to be able to take care of us and keep us from having to work our school. We worked when we became teenagers, but we didn't have to work when we were little. What does that say? What? What does that say? Your what? Supermarket. We had a store. I said we had a farm. I said that we had a way to get our meat. We had a store where we sold our meat. My mother would drive up to this store once a month. We had this big, huge car like your grandmommy has the van, but this big, huge car. And we would pack 3 shopping carts sometimes full of groceries, all from your supermarket. And this is how we had our food. We owned this store, not me, my family, but the community owned this store. So we didn't have to go to Jewel or to Costco or to Walmart. We had our own Muslim community store, or Target, yeah. And people worked here. I used to work there. I worked in the office as helping them with their bookkeeping and stuff. I know other people that used to work there. So we had a way of getting our food, but we also had a way of getting our jobs. Now the work that I did was I was helping them with accounting. I didn't go to accountancy school. The community showed me how to do it. The community taught me, and then alhamdulillah put us to work. So see all these people working in there, and all this food that they had all down these aisles, lots and lots of stuff. Let's turn the corner. I mentioned when I was talking about the community about the bank. This is the bank that was on Stony Island. It's called Guarantee Bank. At the time, we called it Guarantee Bank. And we own that bank. And that's the first place where I started my own checking account, right there at Guarantee Bank. Sorry about that. I started it at Guarantee Bank. And alhamdulillah, some people, Nafis, thank you for calling me. Let's call a pocket dial in your hand. So we had a bank. There were plans for building buildings. You gotta have plans before you build a building. That's a plan. That building was actually built. I used to work in that building. I used to work. This picture right here is of the farm. And this is, we had the pictures of the farm, and then we actually brought the farms, and we actually had plants and animals being raised and grown on these farms. And this is just a picture of an example, and then this is the paper, at that time called El-Hajj Speaks, and it says, fight poverty and want with, you want something, you're poor, you don't have enough money, fight it with farming. Grow your own. Plant your own, grow your own, sell your own, eat your own. That's a way to fight all hunger. It's a way to fight poverty. So this paper was telling, huh?
I said called do for self.
It's called do for self. And at that time the paper was like, you hungry? Get rid of it. Do for yourself. Get some land. Make it work. And that's what we did. And so this paper was an inspiration to say, hey, we're about to build this building. And it's going to have clothing and a shoe market and a dress shop and a newspaper and a printing facility. I don't think they ever put the printing facility in there. And the bakery was down the street from it. But we had a clothing store, and we had some shoes, and we had a place where we made clothing. It was a little further down the street. But all of this started as a dream. It started out as an idea. And then the idea became a drawing, and then the drawing became, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Yes, we do. And it was built, and we made it happen. The restaurant was there. I ate in it. I know. I danced in there. I know it was there, but it started out as a dream. And that dream became a reality. And the paper helped to share that dream with all of us. Different kind of businesses operated. Have you ever heard of a bean pie?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a product of our community. Yeah, me too. I agree. Sister Tahina, have they been good today?
Yeah.
Should I give them a pie?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'll give them a pie. I had to thaw it out though. So Brother Charles, you all know Brother Charles from the Mosqueers, he donated some pie, so I'm going to give you all a pie to take home. Thank you. Is that a good idea? All right, we'll give you a pie. So bean pie came from our community. There was this fish called the whiting H&G fish. Head and gutted is what H&G stood for. And those trucks that I told you about, they would haul the whiting from one part of the country to another part of the country. It would go by ships and into truck and then into our stores. And so here's Muslim sardines. We had sardines. We still sell sardines, but they're not our sardines. But at one point we had our own sardines. So that's pretty cool. People have started their own businesses from products that we had in our community. So here's an example of a business that was started by some Muslims that are selling products in our community, and that Muslim Journal helped to advertise that. In this case, this was earlier on before the name was changed to Muslim Journal from Muhammad Speaks. This is a man, a cartoon picture of a man who owns his own business called Akbar's. There was a picture of Omar Jews. Y'all ever heard of Omar Jews? Omar on the Nile? No.
Oh, that's some good stuff.
It's hidden back here.
Oh.
But there's, come here. I don't know if you all can see, that top picture on this side, that man with that beige jacket on, that was Brother Henry Omar. And he started Omar on the Nile, and it still existed. He's passed, but I don't have any juice, I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry, I have to see if we can work on getting some of that, a sample of that. Let's go this way, we're almost done.
And the very unique thing about Omar on the Nile, it was made out of vegetables.
Uh-huh. You tasted the celery, and it was so good. It was like, ew, that celery. It was like so good. It was just totally good.
Celeries and carrots.
There's that bean pie again. Woohoo! All right, I'm gonna give you some. All right, so this represents the paper. So the paper, Muhammad Speaks. El-Hajj Malik Shabazz is the one who helped to start it. Then now it's Muslim Journal. We told the story of through drawings. There was one author, one cartoonist named Eugene Majid. Eugene Majid's artwork it impacted so many of our lives. Some of us would just get the paper just to see the cartoons that was inside. I'm being real about it.
No, you're right.
Eventually we started reading it.
No, you're right.
A lot of us, we just got it just to see what picture did
I know I did.
Eugene Majid do. And this is Yes, this is one of his, Imogene. So this is one of his pictures that he drew. This is one that was in color. He had a lot of black and white ones, but this is definitely one of his that's in color. And I think this might be him too. Very, very detailed artwork. We have a new, somebody else is drawing for the Muslim Journal now, but at that time when it was Muhammad Speaks, it was Imogene. And I can honestly say, his daughter Janelle was in my class. I went to school with her.
Yeah.
His wife, Sister Maddie, was my handwriting teacher. So I knew him through his wife and through his daughter.
That's what I was trying to do for days.
This here?
Yes,
We
that's
can,
what I was trying to do for days.
I don't have.
Get that together.
I'll try to get a copy.
Son.
Yeah, I'll try to get a copy. I'll try to get a copy. And then we've got lots of copies of the Muslim journals on these tables.
And then the other thing I want to mention, these comic strip drawings weren't just to make us laugh, they were to make us think.
They made you think. They made you think. There was one, children, oh, this grossed me totally out. There was a guy sitting at a table. So imagine, I'm sitting at a table. I have a fork and something else in my hand. Big. Oh, my cheeks are all puffed out. I'm sitting there and food dripping out of my mouth. I'm just sitting there like I'm just so greedy. And on that table, it's a long table, was a head of a pig facing me. And there was a pot with some chitlins in it. And there was some other stuff with some legs of feet of pig in it. Down there was an animal, a pet on the floor, waiting for some of my food to drop so it could eat it. And it was like, he's sitting there like all big and puffy. His features even look like a pig. And as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, I don't ever want to eat a pig in my life. Because it's not going to be good. It grossed me totally out. And I never have that I'm aware of eating hog. But that picture was like enough to say, that's not something you want to eat. And what it showed was that he started to take on the characteristics of the animal that he was eating. And that was the message that they were trying to show us, is that you take on the characteristics of the food that you eat.
You are what you eat.
You are what you eat is the message that we were trying to get, that he was trying to get us to see. And so that's one of the pictures that I'll never forget. And I was like, Eugene, okay, I got it. It's clear in my mind. Don't have to worry about me ever touching that stuff again. Let's see. This is a picture. I need you all to come closer, Nafis. Oh, never mind. I don't know. I think this is as bright as I'm going to get this light. This picture right here has two buildings in it. And one of these buildings is no longer there, and that's this one right here. If you drive down the street that I'm about to tell you, this building is still there. This was the school where we went. This is on, the address is 5335 South Greenwood. This is 5337 South Greenwood. This was Temple number 2. And this was the University of Islam number 2, yes. They tore it down and they put some apartments there. Somebody brought the land and said we wanted apartments there. And this building is owned by St. Jude, or church, I'm sorry, church has it now. And so we sold it to them. We didn't need it anymore. It was too small for us. We had so many children. The school couldn't house all of us. When I was in high school, our classes were in this building because this building was packed to capacity. And we needed more space. So we sold those buildings and we brought the building that's now on Stony Island. Have they been by 73rd and Stony? Do they know where Mosque Mariam is?
I'm not sure.
Well, maybe Grandmommy one day will take you all by there. But that's the building that we brought after we sold these two buildings right here. And like I said, this one's not even there anymore. So that's just an example. Now, I was talking to a sister, and she goes to the Baha Center. The name is Sister Bahia. She was a student at the building we had before this one. And that one was on 43rd Street. They took an animal hospital. They had quarters for the animals to stay in. Stables and stuff where there was like horse mess. They got it and cleaned it up. And they cleaned it up so well, she said you wouldn't even know that it had been an animal hospital. That's where she started to school at. Another sister named Sister Vivian, who also goes to the Baha Center for her Jumu'ah prayers. Sister Vivian, her mother used to have school in her house. And so it was Sister Vivian's mommy's house, then it was 43rd Street, and then it was 53rd Street, and then it was 73rd Street, and now we're at the mosque here. and other locations around Chicago. So this is a long, long history of Islamic education. Now, at this time it was University of Islam. It wasn't Clara Muhammad School at this point. It was not Clara Muhammad School until we went to 73rd Street. That's what became Clara Muhammad. You all know who that is. Seen him before, yes? Who's this? Imam Muhammad. This is Imam Muhammad. And y'all, we already discovered you all know him. And that's Imam Muhammad right there too. And we know Imam Muhammad passed, and he's in the Jannah, in the paradise, inshallah. And that's a picture of all of the, I'm sure it was over 1 million people that came to his janazah. Yeah, it's about 1 million people that came to his janazah.
And we can't neglect the fact that the schools, like you said, are national.
Yes.
They're in cities all across the country.
All across the country, from California all the way over to New York, from Minnesota down to Atlanta, Texas, and in Bermuda. So national and outside the United States in Bermuda. So international schools.
Yeah.
Okay. You all have any questions? I've been doing all the talking. Yes. Bean pie. I'm going to go get it.
Thinking about that bean pie.
You don't want anything? Hold on. Just have a seat for just a few seconds. I'll be right back.